Hi everyone, I'm back on my bullshit. If you've been in the A3 fandom for a while, or really just the past couple years, then you'll know that a common scare is the game ending. From the previews for Act 3, which had the rather threatening hidden message of nothing lasts forever in the posters, to the shutdown of I-chu, Liber's very first mobile game, after 3 parts of main story just like where A3 is at right now, oh no! To the countdown for the upcoming 24-person play. We all know that Liber is stupid, but personally I hope they're not that stupid. After all, even after I-chu's game-ending service not once, but twice, it's still on life support with crowdfunding for novels and other stuff. Hell, in the time it's taken me to write this video, I-chu has been shut down and rebooted twice. If they won't let their neglected first child pass away quietly, then they're definitely not letting their favorite cash cow die. With them announcing that they're going to be adding new cards to the pool next year, I really don't think there's any need for us to be worried. I don't want to disregard the similarity between A3 and I-chu entirely though. I think that even if it doesn't mean the death of A3 as a whole, there's still something to be gained from examining what they have in common. But before I actually get into that, I want to tell you about everyone's least favorite company. Labyrinth are detested. Liber Entertainment was established in 2006, and according to their website, they're named after Liber, the Roman god of freedom and plenty, the counterpart to Dionysus. Apparently it's because they want to make creative entertainment with plentiful ideas, like plentiful ripening grain. Okay, whatever. They develop social games and consult on game management. Prior to 2015, they had a few console games that were shared development, adaptations for existing properties. And then, in 2015, something happened.
touken ranbu, tadaima kaishi to inarimasu.
In January 2015, DMM Games and Nitro Plus released Touken Ranbu, a game where you collect pretty boy personifications of swords, and the Japanese mobile game market was never the same again. I'm not gonna go too into detail for this, lots of other people have talked about this already and have done it way better than I ever could, but basically, Touranbu marked a change in joseimuke games, or games marketed specifically towards women. Before that, you had otome games, the dating sims where you pick a boy to go on a romantic route with, and BL where the boys are going out with each other. The joseimuke games that we have today are sort of a mix of the two, where sometimes you'll have fan service towards you, the player character, but there won't necessarily always be explicitly romantic content, and then sometimes they'll throw in some gay shit here and there as a treat. This is a result of the premise for these games being you are helping them train for whatever the plot requires rather than being specifically romance. Sword fighting, being idols, actors, wink wink, you get the idea. Some subsequently released games of this variety include Ensemble Stars in April, Idolish 7 in August, and of course I-chu in June. I-chu was Liber's first foray into mobile games, immediately latching onto that shiny audience of office ladies and high school girls and other people who just like cute boys that Touken Ranbu had proven to be extremely profitable. But there was a problem. Unlike Instant Touranbu, I-chu was a rhythm game. Part of the appeal to Instant Touken Ranbu was that due to their non-gameplay, you could just turn them on, set them aside, and go do something else. You could do your work, you could study, you could fucking buy lunch, whatever. Playing and ranking in rhythm games, on the other hand, requires attention and effort. But Mom, isn't Ainana a rhythm game too? Yes, but there's a very big difference. Bandai Namco pays attention to Ainana. I-chu did not get that with Liber. Ainana had manga, novels, music videos, etc. Liber just kinda didn't promote I-chu all that strongly, and even now they're having to ask us for crowdfunding to get the novels out. Not to mention, Ainana had the tunes to back it up, and while I won't say I-chu didn't, just kidding, yes I will, a lot of the complaints about I-chu were for a rhythm game, the music was not great! Disclaimer! I actually really like a lot of songs from I-chu, in particular Tenjo Tenge and Alchemist usually got bangers, please don't hurt me! In 2017, while their first game wasn't taking off like they wanted it to, Labyrinth released a second mobile game. This one would be just a tap-tap like Enst, so less energy required, and while it wasn't a rhythm game, the music would be produced by Pony Canyon. So, you know, it would slap. And so, A3 was born. A few months after A3's release, they had a collab with I-chu, and in doing so pointed out certain similar character types. You had Seiya and Sakuya, Saku and Masumi, Kokoro and Yuki, Ban and Taichi, Hikaru and Alice, and Mutsuki and Hisoka. We never got another collab, and I'm pretty sure it's because if Liber kept comparing the characters, we would realize they made the same game again. And definitely not any other reason. Nah, nothing else. Now, obviously, reusing character types isn't wrong. Nothing is original anymore. Tropes exist for a reason, and they're a natural part of creating characters and writing plotlines. Hell, I do it too, so I'm not gonna get at them for that. What's funny to me is that A3 and I-chu don't even have the same writers. As one of my friends said, does Liber have only one vision? I think the answer is yes, because I see it like this, and please bear with me while I make this comparison. In preparation for the movie version coming out, my mom and I watched a recording of In the Heights. It was good. I enjoyed it, but at the same time, all I could think of was, wow, Lin-Manuel Miranda sure did make the same musical twice. Of course, I know that In the Heights came first, and that Hamilton became popular mostly due to how it was promoted so widely, but it doesn't really change the fact that they're both musicals about a guy from some island currently living in New York who does a lot of rapping about how he wants to leave behind a legacy. What my mom said was, Hamilton is the musical that he wanted In the Heights to be, but if he had money. And that's basically how I feel about I-chu and A3. A3 is what Liver wanted for I-chu, but if they had more money. I'd be sorry about comparing them, but by becoming an A3, you've accidentally indoctrinated yourself into becoming a theater kid. There's no way out. The doors are already sealed behind you. And now, we can finally take a look at the story. If you look real close at the last video I posted, you can see that I originally intended to go through these by character, but since some characters in A3 share plotlines with multiple characters from I-chu or vice versa, it probably just makes more sense to go through I-chu's main story and compare as we go along. A lot of spoilers for both I-chu and A3 stories, all the way up to part 3 for both. Please proceed with caution if you intend to read either on your own. I'm not gonna dwell on this one for too long since it's mostly standard idol umbrella stuff. You got your protagonist, Seiya, who decides to become an idol at the school at 12 because of this guy he saw performing like one time. Of note here is that Tsubaki, said performer, tries to encourage him by telling Seiya that trying to follow after him is gonna get him nowhere and the entertainment industry isn't kind enough for you to get by with just your dreams, which is pretty much what made everyone mad at Hiro in Act 10. Yuzuki, the producer, used to be an idol herself before retiring because of something, and now she's back in the industry as a producer instead. What something, you ask? We'll come back to that. Anyway, most of the chapters are introducing the units to us and what their dynamics are, but the main conflict is that there's going to be this big award show, but only one unit gets to perform. Yuzuki has to decide for herself who it is since she's the producer, but everyone's like, no, let me do it, especially Tenjo Tenge, the unit led by Tsubaki. Seiya has a whole, no, I won't let anyone take my role, it's mine, runs out of the rehearsal room moment. But in the end, what Yuzuki decides is to have everyone perform together. Ah, how nice, they're all friends now. I think maybe the stuff that stands out the most as being relevant to the discussion is probably Seiya wanting to be a samurai idol, which is kind of like Sakuya with the pirate blade. There's probably more similarities, but like, since creation is mostly standard idol umbrella stuff, it's not as blatant as later chapters. And then we get to Labyrinth. This is the part of story I yell about the most because of Bevel finding his long-lost older brother Eva and recognizing him solely because they have the exact same eyes. But did you know? It gets worse! I'm gonna start with the more minor ones first. In Labyrinth, not one but two different people are so incapacitated that they almost can't go through with their performances. One is Mutsuki, who started getting so sickly that he nearly quit, leaving his brother behind. The other is Chaoyang, who has unresolved trauma from learning the piano that forces him into such a state of anxiety that he can't play it at all. I have this written down as being like, come on, but honestly I realize this is more like Tenma in Act 1 with the whole freezing up thing. Either way, it's a summer. The previously mentioned Tenjo Tenge are also briefly left without a leader because Tsubaki is nearly forced back to taking over for his family of fucking Yakuza, but he ends up being able to follow his dreams of being an idol anyway. There's also a whole thing about Tora leaving to go to France for the arts, leaving Ars, his unit of loud weirdos, leaderless, and they get mad at him for leaving at first, but then they end up encouraging him to go, and he leaves the unit in Kyosuke and Shiki's hands. He eventually comes back early and he gives the funniest summary of Labyrinth's main points I've ever seen. Please, he did my job for me. But these all pale in comparison to the main conflict of the story. A new unit, Alchemist, crashes into Etwalville. Kuro, Alchemist's leader, is trying to take revenge and destroy them from the inside for what happened to his sister when she used to work there as a producer for him and Yuzuki. Now remember when I said something happened to Yuzuki that made her quit the idol industry? Well, that something was seeing Kyoka, Kuro's sister and Yuzuki's producer, die in front of her in a car accident. Kuro has been holding this against her in the company for years, and so now he has decided to revenge, even though from what we, the audience, see, it's not really Yuzuki's fault, and she's been carrying it on her back as well. He confronts her a bunch of times about her basically running away and not talking to him about it because she didn't want to hurt him, and I hope you see where I'm going with this. The beginning conflict of part 2 is that this one guy comes in like, hello, my name is Yakakuro, you killed my family, prepared to die. And all the protects are like, huh? Help? At least Kuro doesn't stoop to kidnapping. That's the most egregious one, with it ending in Kuro performing a song that's all about how he felt after Kyoka's death, and his entire unit deciding to truly be part of Etwalville as I-chu's for real. There's more to Kyoka and Yuzuki, but I'll get there later. Yeah, there's still more. And that's what we get to Sablier. Just in case you were wondering, all of these titles have been stupid French pronunciation, you know, just Liber weeaboo things. Sablier is the last part of I-chu's story before Liber shut the game down, and boy does it feel like they're trying to get out everything before the end. I had to list out everything that's the same because there's so much, but I guess I'll just throw all that out the window because holy shit, the new characters! During Sablier, a new group of characters are introduced as the managers to each unit. I'm not gonna talk about all of them because there's like 9 and we've already been here for way too long, so here's the ones who are relevant to this discussion. Christopher, the manager of Reberserk. He turns out to be a royal attendant from a faraway country looking for a missing prince, who is, surprise, Ava. Rather than bringing Ava back home, Chris realizes this is where he belongs and decides to stay as well, not just as an attendant, but as a friend. I-chu, manager of Ars. He was formerly a director, but left at this stage because he was like a jackass and everyone hated him. Ars helped him realize that he can leave his past behind and can reclaim his love for theater with the help of, you won't fucking believe this, an adaptation of the Phantom of the Opera that he wrote before he disappeared. Also, it has demons in it. Have I mentioned yet that this came out concurrently with Act 2? Rintaro and Yuji, the managers of Fire Phoenix and Alchemist, respectively. I'll get to them in a minute. I'm gonna get some other stuff out of the way too before I jump on the main plot here. And by other stuff, I mean Lan. This sweet little red boy from IB has a whole arc where it turns out he got hit by a fucking car and got amnesia and changed his entire personality because he couldn't recognize the person he used to be. The old Lan used to read, "Books are for losers!" The old Lan was right-handed, he's a lefty guitarist now. And it was all because of a girl. What I'm saying here is that he and Taichi should have been partnered in the collab instead. I will die on this hill. Anyway, it turns out that he was reporting back on everyone to Kumakocho in secret, so that's a little bit of a minor spying thing, but oh boy, that's not the last of it. Okay, this is the last time, I swear. Remember when I said there was more to Kyoka and Yuzuki? Well, Yuzuki blames herself for Kyoka's death because right before Kyoka got into an accident, Yuzuki confronted her about something. Kyoka, as you will remember, producer to both Kuro and Yuzuki, had been giving away jobs to another agency. Not just any other agency, but Usami Talent Agency, who apparently have had a long-standing grudge against Ilodor, our Protag's company, and their president for a while now. Wow, like, he says this kind of shit. I can't take this. Throughout Sablier, things start going wrong for Ilodor. People spread rumors, they have technical difficulties before performances, etc. People suspect various members of the cast. Lan is one, but he's not spying for anyone outside of Ilodor. Go is suspected as well, but she's also just reporting back to Kumakocho. Eventually, the most strongly suspected out of the managers is Yuji, as, surprise, he's actually Usami-san's son. He kept his name a secret because he felt that if people knew that the president of Usami Talent Agency was his father, being in the same industry, people would treat him differently. But it ain't him either, because he hates his dad and wanted to do something on his own instead of just carrying the family name. Finally, one of the other managers tracks down who the traitor is with some computer magic, and it's Rintaro. He once wanted to be an actor and even got a role in the play that I wrote, but then it just didn't pan out. And the only place he found that would take him in was Usami Talent Agency, so he'd do anything for them, including taking on an entirely different personality to infiltrate Ilodor and sabotage them. He has a whole monologue and everything about how he deceived Seiya, and I can't do this shit again. Now, for the longest time, I thought that Godza was the equivalent to this. You know, company director with a grudge, starts a bet that goes like, if you lose, you close down forever because I hate you, lol. But with Godza going through their redemption arc in Act 9, and someone still out for blood in Act 10, I started to worry. Hell, I thought for a bit that the Usami storyline might end up being Gekka since the rest of it appears to have gone to Hisoka and Chikaga rather than A3's protags. And then, Liber gave me the best gift of all. Not having to talk as much about the fucking months. In part 3, we're getting Hyakka, the people who keep winning the Fleur Award. You have their chairman, Amada Takeju, who says he's a fan of Mankai and Hakaku-san's plays, but he has the exact same voice as the guy who said this in Act 10, so I don't trust him or his bat mustache. Amada-san is on the board for the Fleur Award, so he has influence in who wins it, which, sounds pretty suspicious to me. Sort of like when Usami-san was so sure that his idol would win every award. I wonder why. Aoshi is the sort of top star of Hyakka, and therefore I assume he's going to be similar in terms of role to Hazama Yuri, the star idol of Usami-ent. I'm not making any guesses about Kabuto, though I guess we can draw some lines with him being Amada's Jr. and all. And I don't even want to go near Akashi and Dento, please. Who the fuck is Akashi's grandpa? What the hell do you mean Benta talks like his old partner sometimes? Knowing Liver's track record, said partner is probably dead, or otherwise incapacitated. I don't want to touch that! Anyways, the deal between Usami and Ailudor is that if the I-chu win the top part, then Usami will leave them alone. But if Yuri wins, then they have to give up the whole school. Which seems kind of disproportionate to me, but whatever. Unfortunately, because Usami-san is a lying, cheating motherfucker, Yuri wins because of course he does. Though not before Rintaro briefly goes rogue and rescues Seiya from being locked in a dressing room before Poop's performance, netting the I-chu another minor award that they were apparently not supposed to win. They all still have to follow the terms of the agreement, so Etoile Vio disbands, and the I-chus go their separate ways. We get a lot of stuff about how even if they're apart, they'll still be just as strong, and we get a nice little message of see you next stage, and that's when the game got fucking rebooted. So, where do we go from here? Like I said before, I don't really think that A3 will end. Liver are stupid, but they like money, and A3 is their most popular game, even with the market still dominated by Twisty, Enmu, and Mahoyaku. However, they do have a habit of reusing storylines. Q, the Seiyu Girl game they had, was already starting on a similar track, though we'll never know how much more it would have had in common with its predecessors since it's been discontinued. Well, where does that leave us? There's the obvious threat of Amadate-san is going to try and destroy Mankai, probably using the floor awards in some fashion. If you go literally the exact same route as I-chu, I don't know how that works. Like, they break up because nothing lasts forever, but because Mankai's bonds are stronger than anything, they stay together, unlike how I-chu was supposed to, but the game broke. And it's about them getting everything back, but that feels kind of repetitive considering old Mankai broke up and all that. If we go the same route as I-chu, but without them breaking up, then it seems too close to part 1. Arguably, you can say something about it paralleling the conditions that newborn Mankai were in, but now they're winning even bigger, because they've grown so much together. And also it isn't just Windsor, it's the whole company, and also they're doing it for themselves because the floor awards are fake, or something, I don't know. Either way, Hyakka are probably going to try to fuck Mankai over, and this actually gives me a sense of relief. I know that people have already been worried about Sakuya having to see Hyakka, a troupe that he looked up to since he was young, and the reason that he became an actor be fucking dickheads for no reason. But from following both I-chu and A3, I've worried for such a long time that all of I-chu's main plot points would fall solely onto the goddamn month's shoulders. Kura taking vengeance on Yuzuki for Kyoka's death, which drove most of Labyrinth, was no longer on our character, forcing Izumi to simply be a casualty when Yuzuki had a reason to be part of all that. I honestly thought that Rintaro's counterpart in A3 would be July. They're both I have no personality other than what I am required to have for the agency I will die for and all that fucking bullshit. But that would probably mean that the climax of Sablier, Rintaro having a change of heart, turning back to the light that he once so adored for just a moment, would end up on Hisoka! But Amadate-san being evil and hating Mankai and Tachibana Yukiya gives me hope that maybe this story does belong to Sakuya and Izumi after all. Thanks once again for listening. I hope you enjoyed this one too. Maybe I'll make another one in another year. Who knows?